Welcome to Americans Learn. My name is Lauren, and today I'm going to be looking at a video that was suggested by one of our lovely Discord members. This is by Fujashi Cake, so patron, Discord member, love you muchly. Thank you so much for the suggestion. This is about the Straw Hat Riots. So I have heard of these. I've watched a video about them at some point, but I think it was on my own. I don't remember exactly when or where I watched the video. But I've heard of these. I know a little bit about them. To the point where, well, basically what I know about them is that back in the day, people really gave a crap what kind of hat you were wearing and where. It was sort of like the white shoes after Labor Day, except for it mattered. Apparently, to some people. Anyway, yeah, let's get right on in. I'm looking forward to it.
The flat hat that's most often called a boater, but also commonly called a skimmer or a basher, is made from woven...
It really startled me. It was much louder than I was expecting, and it got me real good.
Senate straw. The straw is plated and woven at angles, and the hat is typically the natural straw color, although usually with a wide plain or striped grosgrain ribbon band. Hats are typically slightly elliptical and have a flat crown and a thick flat brim. The style of hat was purportedly based on flat hats worn by sailors. It was invented in the town of Luton in Bedfordshire, which was a center for straw hat making from the 17th century. While the design seems simple, they actually have made many different styles over the years. In 1822, one London shop offered 42 different styles.
Wow.
The Huntington Press of Huntington, Indiana noted in 1922, last year's styles...
That's kind of nuts. Do you think they were like actually like super, super different? Or do you think like just like vague differences, like having like the band around it being different sizes, you know? Some of it were skinnier, some of it were fatter bands, or like maybe they dark brown versus light tan. Like, how do you have 42 different styles of the same shaped hat?
A predominance of saucer brims. Just what variety will be in favor next year is rather doubtful. The hat was particularly suited to summer, being light but strong, and was commonly worn during summer activities such as boating, thus its most common name. Straw hats did have their difficulty, though. They tended to warp when wet, and as one New Yorker noted in the Daily News in May of 1922, rainy days that required the use of an umbrella all day and cool, blowy days, which often occur during the summer months, are good days to leave the straw hat at home and substitute a soft hat, cap, or derby.
I thought it was going to fly
Because they
off.
used natural straw and were out in the sun, straw hats tended to last only one season.
That guy looks like frickin' Jim Parsons.
Before the straw would start to unfurl and the bright ribbon would fade.
Oh.
The hat was first made popular in the first half of the 19th century as a children's hat. By the 1860s, it was being worn commonly by women, but it wasn't until the 1880s that it became popular among men.
The children's thing, it makes sense to have something that will like kind of die, or like that's not super well put together, because kids are more likely to lose stuff. They play a little harder. It's more likely to get things damaged. But like buying something, like, I don't know, like as an adult like that you know you're only gonna get a season's use out of, feels wild. Like even for me, when I like buy like Halloween decorations, some of those Halloween decorations were probably only meant for 1 year, but I've used them for like 5. I've got a couple of these things that, just like they're little cardboard cutouts essentially of monsters, and you know, they just, and they were probably supposed to be used for like 1 season. I have had them since college. Like, don't tell me something's only useful for 1 season. I'll get so much more use out of it.
The hat reached its popularity in a time when it was expected that a man would always wear some type of hat out of doors. What was associated with leisure activities, the boater was actually seen as a semi-formal hat, the summer version of a Homburg. By the turn of the century, straw boater hats were considered an essential part of summer wear, but they were subject to the odd cultural device of fashion rules. Mm-hmm. Fashion rules are strange things whose origins are often obtuse, but in late 19th century America, the rules were serious. Fashion rules represented class struggles, economic and immigration trends. The people who were in decided what was out, and whether a person wore what was in or out was used as a social measuring stick. For example, while the exact
Pastries.
origin of the long-held fashion prohibition against wearing white after Labor Day is unclear.
I mean, that person's got some fancy ass ballet slippers on, though. That looks strange. Just like that person in the black dress, it like based on what everybody else is wearing. Oh look, but there is a guy in like booty shorts and like really tight shorts over in the back there. I guess this is the beach, so he's in his bathing costume. He's like the only one in that's wearing something like that, though. No, nope, there's two. I see a couple of guys in like bathing suits. Okay.
Its early enforcement was really a measure of wealth. Wealthy families could afford to escape East Coast cities during the hot and muggy summers, going to the countryside where it was cooler. As cities in the time were filthy for a number of reasons, but especially because of coal soot smoke, it was impossible to keep a white dress clean in the city. Thus, wearing white in summer, while it may have something to do with reflecting heat, was actually a class measure. It separated the wealthy from those poor souls who had to spend summer in New York City.
Okay.
Boater hats had a similar tradition. Felt hats were expected to be worn in the winter and straw hats in summer. This is more than just a matter of practicality. The shift came to be specifically recognized as Straw Hat Day. It's not clear when Straw Hat Day originated, but a 1908 issue of the New York Times opined that straw hats should come with the strawberries.
They really had nothing to do back in the day, huh?
That is, it became appropriate to wear straw hats at the time that strawberries ripened. The op-ed went so far as to opine that New Yorkers who wanted to wear straw hats before what was then recognized as the appropriate day, June 15th, should move south, where strawberries ripened earlier.
Jesus.
The rule apparently relaxed over
like
time, as by the mid-1920s, Straw Hat Day in New York was generally recognized to be May 1st, although the official day varied all over the country. There might have been reasons for such a rule, but one was certainly economic. Hat manufacturers knew when to have items in stock, and Straw Hat Day is a genius selling technique. Literally a day when people were expected to buy a new hat.
It is a good marketing technique, that's for damn sure.
But there was the corresponding day in the fall, Felt Hat Day, the day that men were expected to give up their straw hats and shift to felt. By the turn of the century, that day seems to have been generally recognized as September 15th and was the genesis of a Wall Street tradition. Stockbrokers would traditionally wear their straw hats to work on the trading floor that day, and as a symbolic nod to the end of summer, at the end of the day they would throw their hats on the ground and crush them. Perhaps they were buying stock in hat companies.
Right.
While some were willing to challenge the rule, the Wall Street tradition became something of a national tradition. If a man was seen wearing the hat after September 15th, someone would snatch it off his head and crush it, a fate that was usually accepted good-naturedly.
I mean, it's still I feel like it is a dick move, though. Like, come on now, give me my $2 then. Like, I wasn't done with this one. Like, hands off.
Still, there were those who questioned the rule. The New York Times editorialized on September 15, 1922, "The origin of this law is obscure. Certainly it's not based on American meteorology. But reflection justifies at least the suspicion that it originated in the dark machinations of the only class that has an interest in its perpetuation." The Times had reason to complain. The city at the time was in the midst of straw hat chaos.
For sure, look at all those.
The trouble started the evening of September 13th. Although it was 2 days before straw hats were supposed to disappear for winter, it was a particularly hot day, drawing out hordes of late-season skimmers on the streets of Gotham. But the long-worn day also drew out hoodlums, what the Times described as boys and others with
Was that a joke, or did people sometimes call New York Gotham? Is that where that... Alright, I feel like I missed something.
Long day also drew out hoodlums, what the Times described as boys and others with undeveloped minds who delight in destruction for its own sake. On the theory that they had the right to declare open season on straw hats on other persons' heads, the paper reported, scores of rowdies on the east side and other parts of the city started smashing other people's hats. If hat smashing seems frivolous, Peter A. Hatting, the aptly named magistrate of the city's men's night court, disagreed. "A man's hat," he explained, "is just as much a man's property and just as much to be defended as a man's watch." The magistrate wasn't just talking theoretically. When a group of youths tried to start smashing the hats of a group of dock workers.
Okay, so Gotham was... Okay, so I guess Gotham... Is it a place in New York, or is it just a nickname for New York? I never heard of that before.
The workers fought back. The fighting turned into a brawl which stopped traffic on the Manhattan Bridge. There were dangers of riots breaking out in several parts of the city. Straw hat bonfires were started. Police reserves had to be called out. 7 hat smashers were brought to the night court by police on the night of the 13th. Magistrate Hatting slapped them with stiff $5 fines and threatened to jail the next hat smasher brought in.
That's like twice as much as the hat costs. Also, I don't know. I feel like I'm trying to think of something like sort of equivalent to this, like today. I mean, we have riots and bullshit over things like Stanley Cups, you know? Like people go absolutely ham for these things, but that's more of a consumerism thing and not a like it still feels a little different. You know? It's still crazy and it's still bonkers that people care that much. But like this is I feel like it's theft. If you snag somebody's hat off their head and smash to the ground, that's like that's at best theft. Like, and if you push them while you're doing it, now it becomes assault, right? Like this is insane that people would just do this. Oh my God. I mean, ask somebody, okay, look, when I was like a kid, I got my candy stolen on Halloween one time. Like, and that was like one of the most, like, it was terrifying. It was so scary. To like, just have something that is yours and you're holding it, just have it wrenched away from you. Like, not cool.
The threat was intended to send a message. To hit a man's hat, the magistrate declared, is a simple assault, and in this court,
assault.
It will be treated as such.
That's what I said.
The hope was that the magistrate's strong stand would curb the behavior. It didn't. More hat smashing occurred the following 2 nights. The Buffalo Times observed that the appearance of a straw hat was a signal for rapid entrance of gangs of hoodlums. Gangs of youths attacked hats, and sometimes the owners, if they tried to defend their property. 25-year-old Harry Gerber had to be taken to Harlem Hospital after he was badly kicked and beaten while trying to fight off straw hat vandals. Often the youths would use a long stick with a hooked nail at the end to grab hats right off people's heads. They even lined streetcar tracks using the sticks to knock the hats off passengers as the cars rolled by. One New Yorker reported that the mob of hat smashers along Amsterdam Avenue numbered as much as 1,000. The Tribune declared that the carnival prevailed from the Battery to the Bronx. Even plainclothes police were accosted. The Buffalo Times explained the police were kept busy, but there weren't enough of them, and there were too many hats. The Times reported that, in some cases, hundreds of boys and young men terrorized whole blocks and lamented that, as soon as police broke up the gangs in one district, the hoodlums resumed their activities elsewhere. Dang. Hatting continued his hard stance to those arrested, but many were youths, too young to be tried as adults.
They're not going to care.
According to the Tribune, when police brought 7 boys, all below the age of 15, into the 104th Street station, the lieutenant invited the boys' fathers to come to the station and spank them.
Okay, great. Sure. Okay. I mean, I get 20s, I guess, is the kind of thing. But I mean, again, I understand why the kids are doing it. Like that gets, they get caught up in the whole thing. But like the original people, like, come on, guys. Also, it's a hat.
And the invitation was cordially accepted. But some were old enough for the magistrate's court.
Let's beat my kids.
Morris Sikowitz was apprehended by New Yorker Harry Oldbaum, who chased him down after he and a group of hoodlums knocked off his hat. Sikowitz was 16, old enough to be tried in court, and so was charged with disorderly conduct. Hatting fully planned to make good on his promise to jail the next hat smasher brought into his courtroom. Even Oldbaum objected, intervening on behalf of the boy, thinking that a jail sentence was excessive.
A little bit.
But it was the appearance of Sikowitz's 70-year-old gray-haired mother that caused Hatting to relent, for her sake, sending the boy home with a fine. But, Hatting declared, I'll send the next one to jail.
Okay.
The unlucky offender was A. Silverman, sentenced to 3 days in jail. The violence quieted.
I mean, 3 days isn't so bad. Maybe I would say maybe a night, for it if they didn't hurt anybody. If they kind of though it's just it is still kind of, it's theft and kind of assault. So yeah, no, maybe 3 days is fine. Maybe 3 days is fine. Okay. If it's an adult. If it's an adult man, for a 16-year-old, it's too. I do think it's too much. But if they're a grown up, then yeah.
After the night of the 15th, New Yorkers seem to have finally accepted that straw hat season was over.
Oh, a
Buffalo
person
Times gave
talking to
two
me.
reasons for this.
Ah,
One, the weather turned noticeably cooler, and two, most of the straw hats had been destroyed the
I really wasn't expecting to see his face in this video.
night before. The street sweepers were said to have been
And the
kept
town
quite
sounds
busy
cute.
sweeping up all the broken straw hats. It's hard to divine the underlying cause of the Straw Hat riots. It might have had something to do with class, but really it might have just been the weather.
Yeah.
September 15th
People
was
get hot and
described as a
bothered.
perfect day in New York, which brought out not just a lot of men in straw hats, but also the hoodlums that wanted to destroy them. But a few newspapers did note that the straw hat destruction seemed to occur most in the vicinity of hat stores, which did a brisk business selling felt hats to replace the broken straw hats, suggesting that there might have been some sort of
Conspiracy.
bounty paid to the hoodlums under the table.
I love
There
it.
were some examples of straw
They were like, it's too hot. Oh God, people aren't going to come in and buy their new hat. It's a felt hat, though. I feel like you're not going to sell as many of those in general. Except for, I guess, if your hat gets snatched and you have to have one on before you go home.
hat violence in subsequent years, but the Straw Hat riots of 1922, where more than a dozen people were arrested, were by far the worst. Slowly, with time, the boater hat fell out of fashion, and that prohibition of September 15th faded. In 1925, President Calvin Coolidge was famously photographed wearing a straw hat all the way on September 20th,
Oh
perhaps
my God.
shattering the rule for good.
I mean, use your presidency
If
for
you
a good
enjoyed
thing,
this
I
history
guess.
guy,
Hey, fashion rules are bogus and dumb. I'm gonna wear my hat. I feel like people do that. Like celebrities will like sort of take something that's a little bit stigmatized and then be photographed doing it, and it does sort of, oh well, if they're doing it, I feel like that's happened multiple times.
then feel free to click that like button,
Change his bow tie.
subscribe to our channel, and check us out on Patreon, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and our merchandise on teespring.com.
Cool. I need to find out, like figure out where he's from, cause that major thing. I mean, I know that a lot of people make fun of Frank Welker for saying treasure all the time. Okay, so Frank Welker, if you don't know, is the voice actor who has played Freddy from Scooby Doo for like basically ever, and it gets made fun of all the time. I've seen on the internet for the treasure, but he says major, and there was a few other things in there that I'm just like, it's gotta be like a local dialect for something, not just. I just want to know what local dialect. Like, who says that? Do you say major/treasure, or do you say measure and treasure? Like, how do you say that if you're American? Because it's an American thing. But like, because if English was not your first language, it fully makes sense why that you would say major treasure. I just have only heard it twice ever from this guy and from Frank Welker. So. And that's so irrelevant. But yeah, okay, that was fun. I like the way that he explained stuff. That was enjoyable. So thanks, Fujashi, for sending this one my way. Keep letting me know on the comments here, and on the Discord as well. If you do want to help support the channel in other ways, again, leaving a super thanks or buying me a coffee. Both of those things help. A lot of my videos recently have been getting like randomly claimed. A couple of days or a week or a year even after I've posted them, and then it's always something like really small, like a couple of bars of a song used in the background, and I can't erase it. I can't get rid of it. So it would very much help me out if you can afford to do any of those things. And if you can't, again, leaving a like, leaving a comment, subscribing to the channel, hyping the video, all of those things are also incredibly helpful. So, housekeeping out of the way, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.